How you doing?
Good, good. I have to congratulate you on some of your recent posts in the past week or so, week and a half. They've been uh,
Thanks.
they've been bang on, and I don't know. Do you feel like there's a bit of a shift? There's a bit of a shift in what you're seeing and hearing out there, just not in
I feel
terms of
like
like
it's
what we've been seeing, but like what others have been. Others are now kind of seeing. I saw some interesting people in the comments on some of your posts lately.
yeah, I have too, and yours as well. I kind of feel like we've both been kind of on a roll, and I think encouraged by the fact that when we used to post about this stuff, I think both of us were just getting crickets.
Totally.
And you
Totally.
got to be the thing I've learned about LinkedIn is you've got to be persistent. If you feel something is important, you have
Yeah.
to keep posting and make the case for it. Because like I remember when I would post about M, and nobody would read those posts.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like AI is kind of, and particularly for you develop a following. I think you and I both developed a pretty good following on Power BI, and
Yeah.
now I know there are some people who are reading my feed and going, "Hey, where's Power BI stuff?" And it's like I'm just not going to do much of that anymore. And so
Yeah.
if people drop off, hey, no harm, no foul. I understand that. I drop off people's feeds who aren't doing stuff that I think is relevant to me anymore. And so, I think
Mm.
what we're seeing is people are getting a lot of messages from a lot of different places that this is relevant and it is something they need to learn.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of beneficiaries of that being, kind of staunchly in this space at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've told you this many times, but like my messages on LinkedIn have never been busy, like busier. Like I've never had more messages that, saying, love what you're talking about. How do I get into this? I
Yeah.
mean, I answered three this morning. The theme was, I see you're sort of getting into this AI development. How do I do it? So
Mhm.
something has definitely changed, or it is building momentum. And I've been trying to talk about it for 6 months, but I just got to keep talking about it, right? Like it's definitely happening, and I think you're leading the way on this MCP revolution. Totally. Like it's so new, and MCP is a very weird name, but it's a revolution too. It's a total
Oh,
revolution in how things get, how
absolutely.
you can do things.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting to me, how this week I think there's kind of a sea change that, not so much on MCP, but on the idea that what we've got is we've got really strong AI models, we've got really strong back end tools that hook to
Mm.
those AI models. What we don't have yet is the really strong visualization analysis front ends.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like, and we've been saying for like a year that
Mm.
that's the missing piece. And
Mm.
just in the last like literally like 4 or 5 days, two big two big contenders have dropped already.
Oh,
And
right.
Perplexity Labs and
You did mention,
Plus.
but I haven't seen them myself, so I don't know. Maybe you want to just go into them a bit.
Yeah, if you want to jump right into that, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, I'm keen to learn more. I mean, this is an opportunity for me to learn what you've seen because it's all so new, right?
Well, I mean, I think from the start, we've both been really impressed with Perplexity.
Yeah.
And, that for me, it's like, it's still my go-to search that I think, even though OpenAI has a search and Google has now an AI-driven search, my feeling is that Perplexity just does better with when I search for really current stuff. Like if I want to know, like, what's the latest on which MCP client is best or which backend is best, or, the other day I decided to switch over to a trackball, and I got this really configurable trackball. I said, what's the 10 best things I don't know about this? And Perplexity just put together a great answer to that. And so, I've been really impressed with them, and I've been a little worried that, as more and more of the big players incorporate good search, that they were going to kind of be left on the outside. And they just keep innovating in really cool ways. And the thing they did is they released this labs feature, which it's kind of a combination of search, deep research, visualization, and coding. And so what
Yeah.
it does is you can say like oh, somebody had a great one. There was one I saw the other day where somebody said, what is the optimal stock strategy for Apple right around the time of the Apple development conference, where they announced
Yeah.
kind of all their coming stuff for the next year. And
Yeah.
Perplexity Labs did this really deep analysis. I mean, it sometimes goes off and thinks for 10, 15 minutes. And
Right.
and then comes back and it ran this entire simulation of, buy a day before, buy a week before, buy, a month before, sell a day after, sell a week after, sell. And
Right.
it kind of ran through all these permutations, and it came out with what it said, is by far the best strategy, statistically. And I just thought, yeah, and it had interactive visuals, it had all and the thing that is really cool about it is it's totally accountable and transparent. That when you run it, it gives you a cataloged view of the code it used, the sources it pulled, the logic it ran, the
Mm.
images and videos that it called on. I mean, and you can quibble with some of the choices it makes, but the fact is you can completely replicate what it did based on the information it gives you. And that
Yeah.
that to me is a huge advance in the sense that you know everybody talks about hallucinationary, but this is no different than if you gave that task to a junior analyst and they came
Yeah.
back with what looked like a great report. You're still hopefully gonna review it and make sure what they did is right.
Yeah.
um and especially if you're going to use it as your investment strategy. But it's
Mm.
it's really good.
Can I just jump in there and just say, when you talk through this, I all I think about is how much more analysis there is going to be done than has been done historically. That's what I see. You know, data people are going to become far more important because you will be doing things in a different way, but you'll be able to do such unique analysis that was not even possible before. It was just too expensive, too time intensive. That's just a micro example of how this is going to be everywhere, absolutely in everything. I can give you an example of how I think voice data analysis is going to be this new emerging data analysis type field as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, I interrupted. I just wanted to make that
No,
just like
no, no.
really drill down that
I
point.
don't want to just monologue on this, but I'm just so
Yeah.
excited about what I'm seeing. And so the really interesting thing is just yesterday, Plotly came out, and they haven't.
Mhm.
I don't have access to their tool yet. It's not vaporware. Like they're giving early access, and I'm trying to get early access.
Yeah.
But
So
what
they
it is,
historically have had a great visualization client, right? But you had to know how to. Were they on top of Python or R? I can't remember.
both,
Both. Okay,
both,
yeah.
and
So
I mean,
if you think about it, they are the
and Power
perfect,
BI. They actually had a great Power BI custom visual.
yeah, right. They are the perfect candidate in this new MCP world, right? Because they already have the visualization layer completely sorted out. And so they just need to create all the right APIs to connect into these AI clients. And is that what they're doing? That's what they've done, right?
That is exactly what they're doing. And
Yeah.
it, the interesting thing about it is what they are showing is it's it's not driven like Perplexity. The flaw I see in Perplexity is it's still analysis driven by the AI model. And so the
Yeah.
models are getting good. And so
Yeah.
you can have a model that does really good analysis. The problem is when you run that prompt again, you're going to get a different analysis. Not
Mm,
very different, but slightly different, because there is that level of randomness in even if you run it at zero temperature, it's
mm,
it's still going to give a slightly different answer. Now,
mm.
Plotly's taken what I think is a very different view, which is they've been building visualization and analysis for 10 years. They've got this all built. And
Yeah.
what they're doing is I think what we've kind of come to realize in the agent model, which is I think you and I both were really skeptical because we said, well, AI is not smart enough to make these decisions itself, from scratch in a complex agentic system. And
Mm,
what I didn't realize was it doesn't have to. that you can kind of
Yeah.
map out the decisions and the RPA stuff, and then just have AI call the right module. And
Mm.
that's exactly, I think, what Plotly is doing, which is they've been building this for 10 years. And just like Zapier, has been doing the RPA stuff for a decade, and all of a sudden they have what everybody wants. I feel like Plotly has exactly the same thing on the visualization side.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's totally true. I read an article from, I think it was a CEO of Netlify, this hosting service. It was well over a year ago now, and it got viral for a day. And they basically said at that time that every online business needs to build new APIs for the agentic, for AI, the AI era, the agentic tools, so that they can easily communicate to your piece of software to go and get something done. And this is just playing out exactly as he stated at the time. But now it's just getting supercharged, right? I mean, you know the technical details of MCP far better than me. I mean, I don't even understand how you would build an MCP connection right now. I do want to learn though. But that sort of has been the connective tissue, I think, that has unleashed a lot of this new innovation. And it's hard to see it slowing down at all right now.
oh, I mean, there's no way it slows down. If anything,
Yeah.
it's gonna keep picking up. And your point about building, the MCP clones, I haven't done that yet, but I was talking to a good friend of
Mm.
mine. We were out at brunch this weekend, and we were talking, and he said, how hard is it? He said, I've got the perfect tool that I would want to connect to my AI model. How hard is it to do that? And I'm like, let's take a Saturday and find out. I said, bring the code over and let's try it. And I really think,
Mm.
that with the tools that are available and some of the stuff like Pipe Dream that makes it really easy. I mean, I've been using Pipe Dream heavily on the client side, but it also works on the server side in terms of
Mm.
wrapping your app in the MCP layer. And so I want to give it a try. And that
Yeah,
Jim and I
same.
are gonna say take a weekend and just see how hard it is to do.
I want to learn as well because I have no doubt that the new age of builders, the full stack AI professionals is what I like to call them, will be able to create your own software and connect it via this an MCP server, and you will be calling your piece of custom software through one of these AI clients. I have no doubt that that's going to be. I mean, I don't see many people doing it right now because I think it's quite new, but I think we want to be some of the first to do this and showcase it. I mean, I definitely do. I mean, I've built 5 to 7 apps that are, sort of deployed and working and that I'm using, and so this sort of seems like the next level for me around that. So yeah, it's a changing world, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the one I would love to see you try with is the prompt library because
Prompt array, yeah, yeah, you said that, yeah, yeah, totally. There's
I'm
there's like
using
no brainer,
Obsidian for that
no brainer.
purpose, but your
Yeah,
prompt array is built for that. And how great would
yeah.
it be to call that right from within your client and say,
Mm.
you run a prompt, say, oh, that worked well. Let me throw that in a prompt array.
Yeah, this is going to be the new marketplace. This is going to be the new app store. It'll be the MCP store, or it'll be the something store.
It's already there.
Is that what that's pipe dream? Yeah.
Pipedream, Zapier has that. There's another one I just saw that is kind of like, are you familiar with CRAN for R packages?
I've like heard of it. I don't really know much about it though.
So it's kind of a certification marketplace. It doesn't charge,
Right.
but what they
Right.
do is CRAN has a very specific set of documentation requirements, security requirements. You have to keep your package up to certain levels, and you can get dropped from CRAN or you can get added to CRAN. And
Right.
it's got like I think 21,000 packages now, and that there's
Mm.
another I can't remember the name. I'll look it up, but there's somebody who I saw is kind of what I interpret as trying to be the CRAN of MCP,
Mm.
and they've got certification, they've got documentation requirements, and I think there's already three of them that are kind of battling it out. And I have no doubt that when Google goes into this with both feet, they're
Yeah.
they're going to have a massive, app store equivalent.
Yeah. So here's a big question for you. What does this mean for Power BI? Because there is a massive ecosystem of trainers, of people whose careers rely on Power BI, right? I mean, even ours did,
Yeah.
maybe even still do in some respects, but we're obviously trying to evolve. So that is my big question, and I do want to add just an insight that I had on a call yesterday with senior in the IT BI space in a large business in New Zealand. They know that Power BI is going to diminish in terms of its importance in the organization. They're already starting to move or trying to work out how to do it more from a AI point of view. It's still early, but they know that. They know that. So I don't, they're not the only ones. I think a lot are realizing this, right? So what do you think it means for Power BI?
Nothing good. Nothing good for Power BI, because I
Yeah.
think when you really start playing with MCP and trying out these tools, what you see is you can do stuff in minutes that takes, hours in Power BI. And we're
Yeah.
good at Power BI. I mean,
Yeah.
I would definitely put both of us on the high end of the curve for Power BI. And there are things that still would take me, a day to do that I can do almost just with a voice prompt. And,
Mm,
I just don't see how, kind of slapping Copilot onto a non-purpose-built AI tool is gonna do it. I really don't.
yeah,
And
right.
I really think it's gonna have to be something built from the ground up. And the thing I look at with Power BI is, Microsoft just fired their head of AI and let their core
It
Python
wasn't
team go.
Mustafa. It was someone else, right? It wasn't because I thought the head of AI was that Mustafa Suleiman who came from
It was a
somewhere else, but
woman.
it was a different name. It was a different name.
Yeah, and I had had a couple of conversations with her. I thought she was the AI director. I can look that up, but regardless, she was one of the highest ranking AI people in the organization. And their core Python team got let go. Um, and so, I look at that and I say, for the fact that there's this huge battle already ongoing, with major players having already kind of put their products out or express their intention to soon be doing that,
Mm,
building BI tools that are purpose built for this new foundation. And Microsoft, just that doesn't seem like the mark of a winning strategy to me.
mm. Yeah, I don't know what the winning strategy is. I honestly don't. One of the things that I really just don't get at all and feel like Microsoft have continued to drop the ball. Even, and I've voiced this publicly for months, like a few months ago, I stopped but after a backlash, after what I felt was backlash. Why are they not naming all this new innovation with Power BI? Power BI has the most amazing brand. Yes, BI is changing, data is changing, but just make it all part of Power BI. Make Power BI an AI client, like or Copilot at Power BI or something. I'm utterly confused why they're running away from such an incredible brand, number one in the market by a long shot, and they are running away and doing nothing to it. They've done nothing to it for 2 years, forcing everyone into a product that most don't even need. And now they're coming out with some of these AI innovations that they're putting into Copilot. And I think you can use them in Teams or something. I mean, they would get more buy-in if they had Power BI on the label and it was part of the Power BI package, wouldn't it? I'm utterly confused. Utterly confused. I mean,
Yeah,
they obviously
I
have their reasons and there's probably a lot of politics going on, but it's crazy to think that they're doing that when I mean, you think about how many people's careers and how many people have built their personas around Power BI, and they're just basically leaving it. They just walked away from it. That's how I feel. I don't know. Do you feel the same way?
well, I kind of look and think, who would I rather be at this point? Would I rather be Microsoft,
Mm,
Google, OpenAI or Anthropic? And you know, I mean, I overwhelmingly I'd want to be Google at this point, because I feel like they've got the best foundational model. Microsoft doesn't have their own foundational model, or if they do, it's still, very much in development.
Mm,
Google has, closest thing to unlimited resources. They've got a Nobel Prize winner at the head of their, at the head of their AI development. They've got an incredibly, high functioning AI team. Did you take a look at the Meeker slide deck?
oh, I didn't. I did. I just saw headlines on social media, but I didn't dive into it. So I the one takeaway was how Waymo was actually going to surpass, like on its track to surpass Uber, which was fascinating. But that's all. Really the main insight that I saw.
340 slides. I'm like a third of the way through it. It's
Yeah.
a shockingly good and deep analysis. And I guess, she worked for venture capital firms and then has her own venture capital firm now. And I guess it was really, really well respected kind of as an analyst in the internet days. And this, I think
Mm,
somebody said the first big analysis she's produced publicly in like 6 years. And
mm,
I mean, it is just a treasure trove of insight and analysis. And what she said is that it's not clear how anybody's making money on this. They kind of building these, large foundational models is real expensive and is really like they're not recovering near costs on this. So it's great for consumers. It's not really good for the producers. And one of the things she, or somebody I heard kind of analyzing her work was maybe Google is just going to fight the war of attrition on this, that they're just going to, take losses, take losses, take losses, and then, they may be the last one standing.
mm. I think Microsoft are doing the same thing, by the way, just in terms of like all the servers they're building and stuff like that.
But kind of
Yeah.
back to Power BI, that
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a long time. I mean, people are people are risk averse. We talked about this last time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're
I
risk
also want
averse.
to just say that I don't think Power BI is going away. I really don't. And there's always going to be a need for a dashboard. It's just, I thought that Power BI as a brand could evolve into the AI era. That is what I've always thought. They could have made Power BI easier. They could have created a new interface for Power BI that was AI first. I just think there was so much innovation they could have done around such an incredible product. But I just haven't seen them doing that. I don't, and I'm not seeing them doing it. It seems like they're doing it in different products, different names, different subscription models. So
I mean, it again going back to Plotly, and it's got a big space in my mind at this point for something I haven't had a chance to test. But in
mm,
the video they showed yesterday, they've got an enterprise version of this already, so that
yeah.
you've got either an on-prem or a cloud version where you do this analysis, you kind of voice prompt, this analysis, and then you just hit publish, and it just like the Power BI service, and so
Mm,
you've got the
mm,
ability to kind of securely publish your reports, make them available with kind of all the security and administration it seems that you'd have in something like Power BI service or in Tableau. But it was interesting. I was talking to a friend who's a really strong Tableau expert, and he said
mm.
he had the same feeling that I did sitting at the Tableau conference recently.
Oh,
That
really?
that kind of they were not positioning themselves well for this new era.
Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, look, I just with all their resources, I thought I seriously thought they could do it. The other thing that I think is I truly think this is going to happen. AI is cheap. AI is cheap to do this stuff. Really, really cheap, right? And I just think the whole stack that Microsoft have created is expensive in this new era. Like it truly is. By all accounts, Fabric is more than Power BI, and that's where you got to store your data now. It's more than what it cost before. And then you've got the subscriptions, which they've increased the price on, and I have absolutely no doubt they're going to increase it again. There's database storage solutions out. I mean, this isn't the same for like there's a wide spectrum of businesses, isn't there? I mean, there's institutional which has needs, there's medium size which has needs, and there's small that has needs. I think small doesn't even need Power BI anymore. You would just throw it into ChatGPT. Medium, some of the medium size need to get smart about how they model data and things like that. But
But
there's
like, couldn't a medium-sized firm use Superbase?
I mean, that's what I'm kind of seeing. That's what I'm kind of seeing.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like there is solutions out there that are almost 10 times less the cost than what some of the fabric, like Fabric, for example, Databricks, for example, yes, maybe it's different from an institutional perspective, and you've got 10 million rows of data and stuff, but most medium-sized businesses do not have that. And so I think there's going to be massive pressures there. Like that, I mean, that's the reality that I'm seeing right now. Like if you can run analysis for 10 cents through these, or less than 10 cents, I mean, it's going to be less, right? It's going to be way less, probably less than a cent every time you want to run analysis on something. Are you really going to want to pay 10 times the cost to run this whole operation? I think that's a reality that's coming.
Well, that I just found out something today that I need to dig into a little more, but it turns out I think Google has released a SQL open source MCP tool that is
Right.
gotten really good reviews. It's built on Google Cloud. And so, I
Mm.
think what they're doing potentially is they're kind of giving away razors to sell razor blades.
Yeah, right.
And that it's like, here, open source, it's free, it's great. And you just put your stuff on our cloud. And
Mm.
that's a pretty smart strategy, I think.
Mm. I still think Big Tech wins. I said that last time. They'll find a way to win. It's just going to look different. It's going to look different. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, it will all come back to taxing every little piece of intelligence that anyone has or needs, like or automation. So look, the dynamics are just changing, right? The dynamics of which tools we use, how we get stuff done. I mean, it's just changing so fast. Couple of insights for you that I've had of late. These AI coding models have undoubtedly got better in the last month. Like it is like Gemini 2.5 Pro is the most amazing model I've used by far. I mean, I am building websites and apps and I am not even having to correct it for 80% of the time now. It is just doing it one shot every time, everything I ask for just does it. It's like razor sharp. Everything that these top guys are saying, even though it's hard to believe sometimes, is actually happening. Like these models are getting better. If these models, if say a Gemini 3.0 or a ChatGPT, I've heard that Opus 4 from Claude is the same as well. Incredible coding at coding ability. I haven't used it, but I've
I,
heard
I
that
also
one.
hear that like 3 questions in, you hit your limit on the $20 package.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. I don't know, but maybe when you call the API, you can do it more, but
Yeah.
they are generally more expensive. So anyway, Gemini 2.5 is, I mean, it's free in Windsurf. Like they're giving it away for free.
Yeah.
So I'm using it all the time. And look, the next iteration, if this is where we're at right now, the next iteration of these models is just going to be insane, absolutely insane. Like I am just building stuff. I said this in a post yesterday. I am talking to my computer and building the most amazing software. It's mind blowing. That emoji or the mind blown. I mean, that's what I feel like posting half the time when I use this stuff. It's just wow. It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
So I
Uh,
wanted to ask, are you still using Codex a lot? Like, are you playing with that a lot?
I haven't been doing it that much. I had some additional insights from Codex. So Codex is like this agent tool that you can use inside the ChatGPT client, and it can link into your GitHub files, and it can make changes, and you can push those updates to GitHub, right? What I have found though is that I am better off getting on my computer and using Windsurf or Cursor. I use Windsurf pretty much all the time now, but um, I'm better off doing that because with Codex, you can't see the changes that it's making. So it's really
Mm.
like for actual coders who know exactly what that code change is going to do to their code base or their code file. It still can help with, say, simple things you might be doing. Like, I mean, I'm just talking from my perspective because I'm not historically a coder or a developer. So if I make a change on a code file or code base, I am not as aware as, say, my developers are of what that impact is going to be to the entire code base. But when I do it on my desktop, or I do it in Lovable, I can see the changes straight away. So I can see, is there an error? Boom, I can see it. And so I say, no, I don't accept that change. Um, and then I can just generally see what the changes are because in Codex you can say, oh, I want to change the size of this visual, right? But you can't see it. You can just see the code that they're changing, and then you're meant to submit it to GitHub. So I think that there's definitely a use case for this, but it's not as valuable to me as say using just the IDE clients because I can look on my local machine at what is being changed every time the AI does something. So that's sort of the key insight that I've had there. There's also this very popular tool online in the dev community called Claude Code, and it's a
Mm.
it's a terminal based tool that can make
All
updates to
command line, right?
yeah, yeah. And so I don't even really understand how to even use a terminal, honestly. Like it's really confusing to me. So I'm a I like visually seeing what the AI is doing. And so I can just more easily do that inside these IDEs. And also you can do that when you're prototyping in some of the other AI dev tools. So that's my personal preference at the moment. The idea of Codex, and funnily one of the downsides of Codex is that now that I can code on my phone, I'm finding that when I have spare time, I'm now going into going into Codex instead of looking at like Twitter or something. I'm going to or LinkedIn. I'm going to Codex and I'm trying to make little adjustments on my. I'm thinking, oh, I should adjust this little thing on my app. I should adjust this little thing on my app. You don't have to accept everything that the AI does, by the way. It just gives you some changes, and then you can decide to accept it or not to accept it. But yeah, actually,
I got news for you that you may not know.
yeah,
I know you're like a huge fan of voice, and we're both kind of like Siri sucks,
yeah.
and so it's frustrating to me to use. Oh, Siri just popped up. Well, it's here on my iPad. Simmer
Well,
down.
it does show that it's listening.
Yeah. Probably sending all this back to Apple. I've been a huge fan for the last couple of months of Whisper Flow on the
Yeah,
desktop. They
yeah.
just yesterday or
Ah,
today,
yes.
released Whisper Mobile on iOS, and
Yeah.
it's really good. It's like
It's really
it's
good.
this.
Okay, that's good.
It is really good, and their whole ad is, "What if your iPhone had Siri, but it didn't suck?"
Good. I'll tell you. I actually saw that on Twitter and I tried to write a funny reply about it. Hold on, I'll tell you what I replied. I basically said you should walk up to Apple's offices and you should say, "Hey, I've solved your transcription issue. Pay me 100 million bucks or something," because they've got the money.
Yeah,
They've got the money.
I mean, it's kind of crazy if you think. Maybe this is kind of an outgrowth of the AI assisted coding, which is, it does seem like there are just more and more apps that come out of nowhere that are better than as good or
Yeah.
better than the stuff that the major players are producing.
Well, if you think about the advantages that they had in the past, in a lot of cases, they had the money to hire really great developers, didn't they? And so they were able to use that as a competitive advantage that they could create. And I'm telling you, like some of the videos that I see online of what you can do, because what's happening with these coding agents is that so at the moment, you know how I've said in the past, I'm just slowing these things down. I really am. Like me prompting is just slowing it down. Like it could probably do more by itself. I mean, there are people who are hooking 20 of these things up and just having them run. There was an example on Twitter I saw the other day of someone who had this massive monitor and he had 20 of these Claude codes just like iterating over certain parts of a code base. And I've anecdotally heard some other crazy things like around this as well. But this is actually the next generation. I think actually I heard that Cursor was developing something in behind the scenes for this as well. Is that it doesn't just make because at the moment you prompt and then it makes a few changes to a few files,
Right.
but the future is you make a prompt and it maybe draws up like 20 different things it should do. And then it goes off and does 20 different things all simultaneously. And to me, there's nothing stopping it from doing it now. It's just someone hasn't built it yet because
Mhm.
you're just calling an AI model. It's just call, 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 call. Like there's no reason why you can't do that 20 times instead of one time. Someone's just going to build it. And that is fascinating to me. What does that even do to the entire software market? I don't know. I don't know, but it is so truly transformational to that entire ecosystem when you can create unbelievable software as a single person. That might have taken a team of 20 to do 3 years ago. I
Yeah.
mean, what do you I honestly don't even know. I don't even know. I mean, I think I have a few ideas, but it's a brave new world.
I wrote about this earlier. I guess it was over the weekend that, you know, when when Jerry Amidei came out and said, 50% of white collar jobs are, entry level white collar jobs are going away. And I thought, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, possibly, but probably not. And, I started thinking about it, and it's like it kind of doesn't matter from the standpoint of what strategy we all should be taking, which is that whether he's right or wrong, if you it's kind of the Pascal's wager, thing, which is if you just act as though that's true, even if you don't believe it,
Mm,
you're going to make changes that are going to pay off either way. And I think that is proving. I just saw a study, a huge study. PricewaterhouseCoopers analyzed a billion. Did you see this? A billion job announcements across 6 continents, and
mm,
they didn't find any of the job apocalypse stuff. What they found was that actually the workers with the highest AI skills were commanding on average a 56% salary premium relative to those that were not using AI. And the industries that I think one of the examples they used was like software development versus logging, which logging is not a AI driven industry at this point. And they were showing that
mm.
the the in, actually the increase in salaries in the areas that are using AI are huge. And that kind of go. And they said not only the salaries, but in some cases the amount of hiring is increasing. So you've been on that street corner for months,
Oh,
maybe a year or more.
yeah. I cannot stand the clickbait stuff about the job apocalypse. I cannot stand it. I do not believe it. I never have believed it. Everything that I have done with AI just tells me how much more work there is to actually do, how much more opportunity there is to actually go after. So yes, okay, I totally agree. If you're not going to use AI, yes, I'm sorry, but you are going to fall behind. Like you have to be, it is just like using the computer, it's just like using the internet, but it's happening way, way quicker. Yes, if you don't use AI, I'm sorry, you're going to be in a bit of trouble pretty soon. But if you use AI, you start seeing this entire world of opportunity to do new things, to create new workflows, to optimize things. You actually see a much better world of work, honestly. I just don't buy into that at all. And it's sort of reached fever pitch like over the last week or so because I think some of the AI leaders were sort of on mainstream news. Look, I think there will be a lot of issues for those who don't accept this, and there still is a lot of people who don't accept this. They still think that AI is not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And as soon as you start seeing what these agents can do and what you can now build and how quickly you can build it, you start to realize, wow, there's some big, you start to realize, okay, the change is going to be huge. But at the same time, there's just so much opportunity. There is so much opportunity. I mean, I even thought, and I kind of maybe said this. I can't remember if I actually said it, but I definitely thought it. So I don't know if I said it publicly, but I actually believe because of how democratized software is becoming, that almost every business is going to become a software company. I really do. I really do. They're going to have some element of software, no matter what sort of business they are. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Like, if you're a business who sells or is a manufacturer, you'll be able to build incredible software to manage your entire manufacturing processes, right? And so you might actually find as you build that, you'll be able to sell it to other people. I heard an anecdote exactly like this yesterday. I met with a friend who is in the mortgage broking industry, and he told me about a competitor who created a piece of software recently with AI throughout it to manage mortgages for customers. And now they've decided to turn around and start selling that software to other people. Like this is what this democratization of software in how big the change is going to do is it is absolutely going to make it turn almost all businesses into some sort of software business,
Y-
which creates so
I
much
think you're
opportunity,
right.
right?
I
It
think
creates
you're
so much
right. And
opportunity.
one of the things I was really struck by was Rick DeGroot, who we both know, is
Yeah.
top-notch Power BI expert, expert in M code, and he, in response, I think it was to my post, he kind of said, um, I've got this really complex M code problem, and I'm trying to prompt it with such a complex prompt that it's kind of choking on the prompt halfway through. And he
Yep.
said, "Do you guys have any advice on this?" And so I kind of went through a bunch of prompting techniques in terms of
Mm.
using a higher context window model, using XML and Markdown, um, breaking the prompt down, iterating more. And I love your response, which is your response was, you don't need to do that. Build an app, and that the app
Yeah.
lets you basically segment that sort of process and iterate on it all within the app. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. And that is the better approach. Like when you got something of that complexity, at
Mm.
that point, build an app for it.
This is what I have seen for months. This is what I
Yeah.
saw immediately when I started using Lovable, I don't know, 8 months ago. This was the way to leverage AI to the max because you weren't just restricted to the one AI call. You could call it 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 times if you really, really want. And you can put it on a loop. You can set up your prompts to just be fed one after the other into the AI models and get them back. I mean, I saw this because this is what Lovable actually does. This is how Lovable builds your site. This is how Windsurf does it. This is how Cursor does it. This was the new wave. Like these tools showed you the way, and then you can apply that to anything, any workflow, any automation. That's the true opportunity. And that honestly, this trend has not even started. I'm telling you, this trend is about to explode because what's going to happen is everyone in the domain expertise is going to catch up and realize, okay, I can build this now, and they're going to realize, and I'm already starting to see it. I'm already starting to hear it, and that's a lot of the sort of like communication I get is around this. That is the huge opportunity. That is a huge opportunity. I feel like I need to revisit at this point. I need to revisit my concept of the full stack AI professional, and I need to be a bit more detailed in my post, a post about it, maybe even write a long article. Because I also messaged Rick today. He messaged me, and I said, "You are the perfect person to get into this. You are the absolute perfect person. You are an expert. You are incredible at Power BI. You're an incredible data person. Using these tools is easier than doing what you're doing with Power BI or learning what you learned in Power BI. Like it's honestly easier. You can do more amazing stuff. You are the perfect person. And this is the same for any data person, right? Any data person who was able to skill up in Power BI, there is absolutely nothing stopping you from now developing AI applications that do amazing stuff. And you can totally customize them around your domain expertise and far more. I'm very passionate about it because I've been talking about it for so long, but I am a true believer. And it's still early. It's still incredibly early. When you layer in all the AI modalities like voice, text, images, videos, audio, I mean, most of these are so early. It's so early. I mean, voice hasn't even started yet. I mean,
Yeah.
I can talk you through this voice app that I'm building with a friend that we're going to try to turn into a sort of side business. Voice is the most like just that alone is the most incredible opportunity to innovate and to build products around. It's honestly unbelievable, unbelievable. So data people and historically those particularly in the AI the Power BI ecosystem that we've been a really solid part of the Microsoft Power Platform ecosystem, perfect people to become full stack AI professionals in
Yeah.
this new world, right? Perfect person. And then I would even layer on like MCP sort of just arrived on the scene as well. Like that's another layer, right? You should be
Oh,
thinking about how you can you can integrate what you're doing into these MCP environments and clients, and whatever the terminology is.
You know, I was just looking some up because I think one of the really key things is, you know, you've got the enthusiasm for it, I've got the enthusiasm for it, but I think the really convincing thing is when people start seeing other people do it. Sam gets it, he knows how to do this, but yeah, how many other people are doing this? And the thing I'm starting to see is the answer is a lot. And I think that just needs to have a voice in a forum. And you and I have
Yeah,
talked about this, but kind of the concept that we talk about, AI show and tell, and just
yeah,
having a means to bring these people on. This guy Ross Hasty that I wrote about the other day, he just saw an opportunity and said he's a great system architect, and he took the PL 600 exam and studied for it and said, I just wasn't happy with the resources, that they were all kind of memorization. And, he said
yeah.
it wasn't that the tools were promoting things that didn't promote the skills that would make for a really great system architect. And
Mm.
so he just built it. He just
I
used
saw that. I loved it.
used
Yeah,
used AI assisted coding tools and his own domain knowledge, and built this incredible tool that in 2 days had a 60% increase in questions added to it by the community. And I thought, there are people out there doing this kind of stuff every day. And
yeah,
to get that parade of people out, and a lot of them write me, and it's like, I think we could probably put 10 of those together, you know, right away, from people I know who've, dropped me DMs, probably the same for you. And,
yeah.
I think when people see the range of what just regular folks who were data analysts, data scientists, data engineers, just or financial analysts, kind of doing these sorts of things and building these sorts of apps, and the range and creativity that they're showing in what they built, I think it's really going to resonate with people, because it's not
Mm,
saying that you or I aren't, but I think people can say, okay, like, that's two people who every week get on and talk about, their enthusiasm for it. But I
mm,
think when people start seeing the parade of other people who are, doing the same thing, and it's kind of like, we talked last time about information diet, and, I still think that was a great conversation. I really think a lot about that, but, there's a certain point which I just don't want to debate this anymore. It's like,
yeah,
I love this quote by George Bernard Shaw, which is, um, those who say it can't be done should not interrupt those people who are doing it. And,
yeah,
I just want to talk to, I want to see and talk to people who've already done it, and say, what did you build? How'd you build it? What are you doing with it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you make so many great points there. And look, I'm trying. I'm trying to find the time and the ability to organize more showcases around this. It's just, I mean, I honestly, I've never worked harder in my life in the last like few months. I'm just
Yeah.
sprinting myself just to reorganize enterprise DNA around this, just to build a whole new suite of like I think sort of things that can help our users, etc. And I've got to create content at the same time. So I'm just trying to fit it in. But we have built our AI builders community, right? And this is the venue that I personally want to use to sort of showcase more of this stuff. So look, it's a work in progress from particularly my end, to highlight more of it. But I think people are starting to see it. Yeah, they're like, and most people are starting to see it. I kind of was reflecting the other day. I was talking to um I was talking to my dad. I was like, man, I've been right for 8 months. I knew I was right, and I have been completely right, and everyone's starting to come around to it. But I haven't actually felt like I've found a way to, um, it's not like we're getting this wave of people signing up for Enterprise DA's learning platform on the back of it. Like it's all good being right, but you actually got to find a way to okay, how can we help people and what can we do to help them so that they will, there's an exchange, they can pay for it. We can help them more. So, I'm just sprinting to try and make that happen, obviously, like, because, from our
Yeah.
perspective, I've got a business, I've got to make sure that, we also evolve successfully through this transition as well. Like it's not actually that easy. Just like Microsoft and Google and everyone else are having to work their way through it. So is every small business. And I want to come back. I want to circle back to that in a second because I want to tell you how much online business is changing. Like it is just honestly, it's unbelievable. The other thing I wanted to point out was, yeah, I want to tell you, I had this online interaction the other day, and I probably went a bit overboard and sort of flew off a little bit. But they were giving me crap for like a few months about, how I was talking about this and how I was sort of saying, you want to become the full stack AI professional and all this kind of stuff. And they were calling me out in comments and things like that. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, if you don't believe, that's fine. I'm just going to show you. I think I actually said one time, I'm not going to debate this anymore. I'm just going to show you, and then the other day I heard they're making courses about this now. Yeah. Anyway, I just sort of shook my head. I mean, you're like 3 months ago, you're calling me out and saying that I was selling a dream that wasn't reality, and now you're creating courses about it. I thought that was a bit of a low blow, honestly. But anyway, I probably didn't. I probably should have been a bit more moderate in my response. But anyway, like it just shows you that people are realizing that
And I think
this is the thing, right?
people are coming around. I mean, I think we've all made kind of bad assessments on certain things. I mean, I look
Yeah.
back, I've got a couple of posts that did not age well. My agent post, right at the top of that. And there's there's a few folks in my feed who really have a good perspective on this, and they're just very kind of calm, and they kind of just take it all in, kind of no hype. And one of
Mm.
them, when I was talking about the BI tools and the next era of that, he said, it actually seems slower to me than I thought. And,
Yeah.
he was saying that when he first saw what was the tool that OpenAI released way
ADA,
back?
advanced data
Advanced
analysis.
data analysis. He said the minute I saw that, he said, I thought things were going to change fast. And
Mm.
so it's been over a year since they released ADA, and we still
Yeah.
don't have a truly viable, AI BI front end. And
Yeah.
I mean, in some respect, I kind of think, wow, this is moving so fast. But in some ways, I think he's right because I thought we would have that by now. And
Well, I think it's because of two things. It's the hallucinations was one, right? Like you can't have a data analysis tool that makes up like 25% of stuff. So in terms of the UI, I think it was kind of there. But I mean, who's even if it's 5% wrong, is anyone going to use it? Like, is anyone going to truly use it for anything
yeah.
meaningful within an enterprise? No. Even though humans probably make more than 5% of mistakes in reports and analysis anyway. But, I think that there's a higher bar. There's a higher bar for this stuff. But also, I think because the models have got so good now, they're actually just writing the right Python, they're writing the right SQL, they're writing the right R to actually get the information right. So I just think that's got smaller. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. And I want to ask you, I want to go back to the model question because I see these results that I don't understand because I have the same reaction you do, which is that Gemini 2.5 is the star of, my model team. Of all the models I use, that's the one when I want to really pull out the big gun and, throw, the hardest problem at it.
Mm.
Um, but everything I see about coding says O4 mini high is the best coding model. And at least for data analysis coding, I'm not seeing it. And I wondered, have you played around with O4 mini high and compared that to 2.5 Pro? And
Um,
are you seeing for
No,
the type of coding
I
you
haven't
do?
used that mini high much at all. I actually see and hear differently. Like I hear the O3 is amazing, but the thing about it's where you use these AIs. It also matters. It also matters because
Yeah.
say in Windsurf, they have a master prompt that sort of sits above this AI and that they don't really release to anyone, and that sort of determines how the AI actually works in their environment. And so that's where I'm mostly using it. I'm using it within these clients. I'm using Lovable doesn't even tell you what AI it's using. I think it uses different AIs for different things, which is probably a smart strategy, actually. It's hard to say. It's I think it's hard to definitively say. I honestly do because it also the environment that has been created around the AI also matters. It also does.
Mm,
So all I know is that in Windsurf, this IDE that I use, 2.5 Pro is just incredible at just getting done what you ask. It's incredible,
right.
absolutely incredible. Best model by far. I was using even OpenAI's 4.1 for a while. I thought that was quite good. And then in the last like I don't know 7 to 10 days, I've gone to 2.5. I just haven't even left. It's just one shots everything I ask. It's amazing. I will say though, I will say nothing has changed in terms of knowing what you're doing. I also think it's probably really good for me because I'm architecting my solutions really well now because I actually know what I'm doing. And so
Mhm.
that has not changed at all. If you have an absolute mess in your code and your architecture of how your code is being done, I don't think it's anywhere near as effective as if you have really clear structure and how you've like just best practices around how you actually develop something. So nothing has taken away from the, and I don't actually see this changing at all. It was the same. It's the same with Codex, right? Like if you don't know what is going on in your code base, there's no vibing to some amazing software solution. There is a vibe. There's vibing to prototyping. I think vibing takes you to sort of a point in prototyping. Then you move to this agentic coding, and I think this is a different beast. This is a you gotta skill up. You got to know how to direct the AI to do what you need. You need to know how to architect a quality solution. So those are some sort of like insights that I've had in recent times. But yeah, no, so sorry, on the model thing. Yeah, look, I think it's dependent on where you're using it, how you're using it. Not so well defined would be my take.
Ethan Malick's been saying this a lot that, benchmarks, the general benchmarks just have their limit. And you really have to develop your own tests for your particular domain and types of problems. And
Mm,
that, relying at this point, relying on just general benchmarks is probably not going to get you what you need. And I thought that was a really interesting observation. The other thing that really struck me is I've been I've been kind of out there saying, DAX is basically solved. If you prompt DAX properly and you run it on Gemini 2.5 Pro. And Alexis Olson, one of the sharpest guys who comments in my feed, and he sent me a really, really nasty, problem. And I tried running, I didn't get the AI to answer it but properly, but it made me realize I don't think it's the AI's fault. I think it's that I don't have. I mean, he's really into kind of high level investment analysis and stuff, and it's not something I know. I mean, it's stuff I'm sure you would recognize, but
right.
um, what I found was I just didn't have the domain knowledge to prompt the model properly. I didn't really know what I was talking about. And I'll pull up the topic, and
Yeah.
it really made me realize that prompting and context still matters tremendously. And
I,
if
you know,
you
I just want to drill down on that point and highlight it. Nothing I have seen with using AI detracts from anyone's expertise. It enhances someone's expertise. Like that. That's what I see. You can take your domain knowledge or the knowledge that you already have, and you can sit on top of this incredible intelligence layer that elevates you even more. That's what I see. And this is what annoys me about the AI job apocalypse clickbait. Yes, okay, I'm using AI, and yes, you have to use AI, but that is what you need to encourage everyone to do is that if you use AI, then you see it. Then you realize, okay, I'm just now at a higher abstraction of what I can actually do, what I can actually achieve. And that's where all the opportunity is. Um, and I wish actually someone would come out and someone would come out and say that. But even Barack Obama is out there saying there's a job apocalypse coming. Like, man, I don't know what sort of incentives these. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, look, I could be wrong, right? So they're sort of creating they're sort of highlighting that there could be a nuclear bomb, even though it's a very low percentage. There could be. I guess that's probably what they're trying to do. But I mean, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it at all. I'm just seeing waves of new ways of doing things. A lot of disruption, yes, but
Yeah.
new waves of doing things.
Well, and I think it is going to be disruptive in the in the short term. And it was interesting when I wrote that post. I think somebody came back at me and said, "Well, that this isn't foolproof," and I'm like, "No, it's absolutely not," and that it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that if you do this, you're going to be protected, but it means you're going to give yourself the best shot.
Yeah.
And there is going to be, I feel like, in the short term, particularly as firms adjust and
There is undoubtedly going to be winners and losers here, right? In any
yeah,
technological change, there is winners and losers. I mean, you could say that online shopping disrupted Main Street shopping, and that played out over a decade, or more, right? But new opportunities were created, new businesses were created. Honestly, when I see some people posting about this, I just think they lack creativity. They lack creativity about what could be coming down in the future with these new tools that are available to us.